there was a war. Was it yesterday, or was it tomorrow?
Tell me when you
And
finish.
surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Fire the...
You'll keep hearing many things about Castle Keep. You'll hear about the one-eyed falcon.
Major, I don't think you know what this castle means.
It stands on the most important crossroads in the Ardennes.
Major, isn't it
It
possible?
stands on the road to Bastogne.
And the dove.
If something isn't saved, then what's it all for?
The preacher.
You trained for the ministry, didn't you, Lieutenant? Why aren't you a chaplain?
The cowboy.
Yes, sir.
Is the world suffering a water shortage, Corporal Clairvoyant?
Not now, sir, but suppose this war just goes on and on and on and destroys everything in the world. Well, since the Volkswagen can get along without water, she's bound to survive when other creatures die off.
The Count.
Did I select Major Falconer, or did you?
You did, Ollie.
Most important, you must make love, but not be in love. That way I retain control. The child will be truly my creation.
The mistress of the castle.
Don't defend the castle.
You mean you want to save it too?
I want to save you.
The baker.
You're waking everybody up. Go back to your outfit.
We have no outfit. We don't believe in fighting.
Oh, who believes in fighting?
The Red Queen and her camp followers.
To where are you going?
To the ends of the earth, and I think we're there.
A 10th century castle in a 20th century war. When war comes, what is the life of one man or one castle?
Jack and Cecil are two of a kind. They like to think of themselves as the last of the plainsmen. What they really are is a half-caste Indian and a misfit cowboy. Two rustlers determined to hustle their share of Rancho Deluxe and grab as much of the action as they can handle. Starring Jeff Bridges, Sam Waterson, Elizabeth Ashley, Charlene Dallas, Harry Dean Stanton. It started as fun, but before it's over, the laughter isn't all that will die. Every cowboy has a dream of having his own Rancho Deluxe. The only thing that's different is how they go about getting it.
Did he come on the bus? The hell he did. No one ever comes on the bus.
Then he must have ridden in on the rain.
want that bank. Otherwise, I kill you. I let women in my room for only one reason. Now I'll give you a few details of what happened next. Where is she?
Marlene Jobert, Charles Bronson, in The Rider on the Rain. Thumb tripping. Gary and Shay were young and beautiful. They thought they were free to take any ride. They weren't free enough to turn one down.
Gotta go where the feeling takes you. You got to go when the time is high.
The trouble starts when someone stops.
You ask most people about who's taking the chance, and they'll tell you that it's the driver that's taking the chance picking up hitchhikers. But I say that it's the hitchhiker.
Gotta go where the feeling takes you. You gotta ride.
Let's take every ride that comes, like we said.
Eddie North, I believe you got a ride.
One day you wake up and the earth goes beneath your feet. One day you wake up and you can't feel no gravity.
Would you classify yourselves as hippies?
We used to believe in free love, and it cost me every time we had some.
Wicked, 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 wicked!
I forgot that people like that still existed.
Let's have some action. Let's have a party!
Keep your eyes to yourself, kid.
I couldn't help it. There was nothing I could do. He just kept on driving. And he said that he was going to beat you up.
I believe the ride ends here, boy.
Crime can be fun, but I seem to be one step behind. Could it be that together we ride?
What are you doing the rest of your life? North and south and east and west of your life. I have only one request of your life, that you spend it all with me.
How do you characterize a man who calls himself Evel Knievel? In this summer of Watergate, in a nation plagued by critical problems, why is it that a man whose claim to fame as the world's leading authority on self-destruction has captured our imagination by attempting to jump over a canyon in a baby rocket he calls a sky cycle? Who is Evel Knievel, and why does he gamble his life in this incredible way?
My name is Evel Knievel. I'm a professional daredevil. I wear a red, white, and blue #1 on my shoulder because I think I'm the best. In my business, you have to think you're the best, you end up dead. A lot of people ask me why I do what I do. And I figure there are 3 mysteries to life. That's where you came from, why you do what you do, and where you're going to go. Nobody knows the answer to those questions. I really lead 4 lives. My first life, I guess, is the life that I have with my family. My wife and my children. That means more to me than anything. My second life is being a professional daredevil to the public. My third life is being a business manager of that daredevil. And my fourth life is kind of like my first life. It's private. It's things that I do when I'm on the road to kind of let myself go, to loosen up, to be able to take and handle what's coming at me down the road. When you do what I do for a living, you have to have a positive mental attitude. And if that positive mental attitude doesn't work when you make that jump, you have to be man enough to handle the circumstances. In my case, I'm man enough.
Well, the south side of Chicago is the baddest part of town. And if you go down there, you better just beware of a man named Leroy Brown. Now, Leroy, more in trouble. You see, they stand about 6'4". All the downtown ladies call him treetop lover. All the men just call him sir. Now, Leroy, he a gambler, and he like his fancy clothes, and he like to wear his diamond rings in front of everybody's nose. He got a custom Continental, he got a Eldorado too. He got a 32 gun in his pocket for fun. He got a razor in his shoe. Bad, Leroy Brown, baddest man in the whole downtown. Better than old King Kong, meaner than a junkyard dog. Yeah, he was better than old King Kong, meaner than a junkyard dog.
3 days from now, on Sunday, September 8th, Evel Knievel will make his long-awaited jump over the Snake River Canyon in the state of Idaho. If you're curious about who he is and his chances of success or failure, stick around and you'll find out. Evel Knievel. One man, one canyon. Our report begins in just a moment. Last month, Business Week magazine ran a story called The Dollar Value of a Daredevil. They were referring, of course, to Evel Knievel. The article says that at least 15 business corporations expect to cash in by the millions on products and endorsements related to Evel's daredevil exploits. We want to sell things which excite the imagination of the public, a toy company representative is quoted as saying. The marketing of a suicide, according to another corporate executive. Evel Knievel is a legend in his own time, says still another. And if he dies, the legend will still continue.
On any Sunday, stretching up, reaching high, leaving my Monday world behind. I'll fire my rockets and explode in the sky, kick up my heels until I find I'm flying over my shoulder through the dust. I'm falling, none wouldn't catch me if you can. On any Sunday, I'm a flying man.
For a week now, I have talked about coming to this racetrack and doing a lot of wheelies and making a big jump. I kind of black it out of my mind until it's the time that I have to do it. Now's the time. I'm going to pay attention to business and get the job done.
When I first started to perform, people used to come because it was kind of out of a curiosity type thing. They want to see what an Evel Knievel was. Now, it's the thousands that come to be a part of the thing with me, that believe in me. Motorcycles that I ride are not souped up in any way. We polish and port and maybe do a little carburation, but there's no changes made to the engines. I don't use a tachometer or a speedometer, either one, on a motorcycle. I do it all by feel.
you come down the in-run and hit the takeoff ramp, you have to be on the balls of your feet just like when you're ski jumping. You have to be in a good crouch. You have to have your weight forward and you have to spring at the right time. You do not turn the throttle off until the front wheel leaves the takeoff ramp. On some jumps I land on the nose, and I shouldn't, but that's because I thought I was going too fast when I took off, and I tried to slow down and nosedived. On other jumps I'll land right on the rear wheel, just perfectly, just like I was going through the air doing a wheelie. The only thing you think about when you land the motorcycle is to hope that it lands on the rear wheel to where the shock absorbers take the impact and to where the front wheel will touch down immediately after the rear wheel. It should land in about a 40-degree angle, and that's a perfect jump. The biggest, the highest, and the longest jump in eternity will be September the 8th. That one I will not have to look forward to doing again. You go out to have a good time. You have a little publicity, nationwide or locally, going for you. And what happens is that when you come to a town, I don't care whether it's a small town or a big town, everybody wants to ask you a question and shake your hand, and I really consider that a compliment. I'll tell you why. In the business that I'm in, when the truck drivers stop shaking your hand, the kids stop asking you for an autograph, when the girls stop kissing you and the dogs stop barking at you, you're in a lot of trouble in my business.
And he jumped a bunch of our cars, man, and he demolished one of them. He just wiped that one out. I got to look at his body and look at that car and compare, you know.
One thing about the guy, you got to give him credit because he has got guts that won't quit.
What is it, guts or
guts,
sanity?
determination, I don't know what, but he's a man of his own convictions, and I admire the guy for it.
He represents adventure, danger, the excitement and fascination that most people only fantasize about.
Here's to me and here's to you. If we have a disagreement, the hell with you. We'll drink to me, right? This tractor and trailer is the longest tractor and trailer in the world. It cost me over $91,000 to build it. The coach that sits on the back of it has refrigerated air conditioning, electric heat, draft beer, a love seat, recliner. In the back I have a wardrobe room. In the trailer we carry the Ferrari, the Cadillac station wagon, the ramps, the jet-powered motorcycle, 3 performing motorcycles that I jump with. And I almost forgot, back up front of my golf clubs. All right, look, I got a bet for you. If you hit in the water, you owe everybody 100. If you hit in the trap, you owe everybody 100. If you don't par the hole, you owe everybody 100. And I'll bet you, fat man, double on a par.
You got it!
You kinky-haired little kraut. My grandmother could hit the golf ball further than you can hit it.
That reminds me of little Charlie.
Go ahead and hit.
Little Charlie. He's a little lighter.
Don't talk on Hans's backswing. It really upsets him. Good luck, Hans. No, Obi! Obi!
That could be out of bounds.
Obi!
Hit the fence.
Guy made $200 on this hole. Ain't even stepped up to the tee yet. Unload the Ferrari and get that caddy washed up, and we'll split for Dallas just as quick as we can. All right? Hello? No, this is his business manager, Mr. Forbes. He's not in. What can I do for you? The truth is that this motorcycle jumping business, for me anyway, has become something that is almost too much for one man to take care of.
It's got so hectic that my telephones have been disconnected and unlisted. Send me a letter. I'll give you an address. Post Office Box 505, Butte, Montana. Send a $5,000 cashier's check as a deposit on the thing, and a letter. My name is Rosenstein. Hello, Aggie. Yeah. Yeah, you betcha. I'm on my way to Dallas. You bet. You let me know what time you're getting in. I'll pick you up at the airport. Okay, buddy. You bet. Thanks for calling. I'll be right back. Well, I am my own business manager, my own PR man. I never had a businessman or a PR man in my life. There's nothing in this world, I don't care whether it's furs, diamonds, automobiles, houses, anything you can name, that is the best that I'm not going to have two of. Hi, good looking. You going swimming again? Come on, I'll take you down the pool. How you doing? Think you can handle that high dive today? Huh?
I first came in contact with Evel Knievel about 5 years ago when I got a call from his agent in California. At that time, Evel was considering jumping the Grand Canyon and couldn't make connections with the government, so he came into Twin Falls and took over some property out here, and now is planning to jump the Snake River Canyon, which is quite a jump, and I'm just glad he's doing it and not myself. I think Evel's maybe a little bit off his rocker, but this is his business and not mine.
The canyon itself is a little over a half a mile wide, and when I jump it, over a mile across it and land a half a mile on the other side.
Webster's dictionary defines the word daredevil as a recklessly bold person. In 1859, Charles Blondin created a sensation by walking over Niagara Falls on a tightrope. The hero of Niagara, he was called after that, and idolized around the world for his skill and courage. Harry Houdini also developed an illustrious career defying death, especially after he discovered that paying audiences were more deeply fascinated by potential self-destruction than mere magical illusions. Professional daredevils prepare their acts with great care, but every so often there is a miscalculation. Last month in Alabama, stuntman Bob Pliso attempted a world record motorcycle leap over 30 cars. He landed 2 cars short and smashed into the pavement at nearly 100 miles an hour. He died in surgery 2 hours after his final attempt to become the greatest of them all, a title Evel Knievel hopes to claim permanently for himself.
When I'm fired in this vehicle, the machine will go from 0 to 300 miles an hour in less than 4.5 seconds. As soon as I can see what's going on after I'm fired, then I'll make the decision as to whether to blow out of the vehicle with a parachute system or just stay in it and try and nosedive it into the other side, which is what I would like to do. That's the way I'd like to land it. When that parachute opens, it will slow the machine down to where I've got a chance of hitting in an impact area and staying alive. If I make it across the canyon, I'll drop to both knees and probably thank God Almighty I'm still alive. And if I miss it and hit the canyon wall, it really makes no difference because I'm just going to get somewhere quicker where you're going someday, and I'll wait for you. Dying is a part of living, and while I'm alive, I'm going to live it to the hilt.
A major part of the Evel Knievel charisma is his convincing manner in persuading an audience that he knows exactly what he's doing and could care less about the danger. The location, the Midwest. The scene, a press conference with the major topic, Evel's Snake River Canyon jump.
Not off 10. And when they fire that sky cycle of mine, it's going to go from 0 to 200 miles an hour by the time it reaches the end of that. And what that takes is 5,000 pounds of thrust, 15,000 pounds of jet horsepower, and 4,000 pounds of total impulse.
How do you spell the name of the man who designed your sky cycle?
Truax, Truax. But I get a kick out of Mr. Truax. He was involved with the Apollo missions when the astronauts were burnt to death on the launch pad, and he always tells me, he says, if the machine doesn't explode and scald you to death, and if it doesn't tip over backwards when it takes off the ramp, and if it doesn't go into the canyon at 300 miles an hour or hit the wall at 300 miles an hour, and if the parachute's open, and if you can get out of it all right, you're going to be okay. I don't like to hear him talk very often.
The setting is a quiet neighborhood in Saratoga, California, one of the scores of suburban bedroom communities of San Francisco's Bay Area. In these unlikely surroundings, Evel Knievel's mysterious X2 sky cycle is being created, developed, and assembled by the Truax Engineering Company. The main plant is in a two-car garage attached to the home of company president Bob Truax. The administrative and design headquarters are behind the house in what was once the swimming pool Cabana. And it is here that we meet the man behind the man who will jump the Snake River Canyon. Bob Truax, Naval Academy graduate, ex-Navy captain, one of the pioneers of America's rocket and space program, the first Thor rocket project officer, one of the founders of the Air Force's secret satellite program and the Navy Polaris program. Bob, how did you ever get involved with Evel Knievel?
Well, I guess the credit or blame, however you look at it, really belongs to a young fellow named Doug Malwicki. Evel hired Doug to design his first sky cycle, and Doug came to Aerojet, where I was working at the time, to try to get them to build him a rocket engine for his sky cycle. The price that Aerojet quoted him for such a development was so astronomical that it turned him off immediately, and as he was about to walk out the door, someone remembered that a few years before I had started a small company to produce steam rockets, primarily for drag racers. And so they told Doug, they said, you might get a hold of Bob Truax. Maybe he would be willing to build an engine for you. And that led to my building engine for the so-called X1.
What is it that happened exactly with the X1?
The purpose of the test of the X1 was to see whether the launching ramp and the technique for holding the vehicle to the ramp was valid. Preparations for the launch start about an hour beforehand, and that begins with filling the tank partially full of water. We then connected up the boiler and blew steam into the rocket tank, heating the water and adding more water to the tank. When the pressure was up to the expected value, which is 500 pounds per square inch, I pulled the lanyard, which opened the valve, allowing the steam to escape out the nozzles and creating about 1,300 pounds of thrust.
3, 2, 1, go!
It went off very cleanly, then curved over rather gracefully, the engine still firing, headed on down into the canyon, and finally disappeared in mid-river.
The X1 was never intended to make it across the canyon. In fact, Evel wasn't going to release these films if the X1 had accidentally landed on the other side. But it went into the river as planned. The test of the launching procedures was successful.
The vehicle rode up the ramp perfectly straight, without excessive swaying, didn't jump the track, and the separation was clean. There was some concern on my part that the thrust wouldn't be adequate because the vehicle was originally designed to pick up its speed on the horizontal, so we deliberately underloaded the tanks to reduce the weight of the vehicle. Of course, that contributed to the rather short range.
And in July, some 7 months later, the X-1 was finally located some distance downstream, in 60 feet of water. All equipment and electronics a total loss.
We designed a completely new bird around a much larger engine, which had all the capability needed to make the jump. And the jump is going to start off of this ramp. It's going to be a straight shot. That is, the vehicle will start at the bottom of the ramp. It will go off this 108-foot long ramp. It leaves the ramp at about 100 miles an hour. It accelerates in 4 seconds to about 350 miles an hour, and then goes over the top at about 250 miles an hour. Here's the general configuration. When it gets to the top, the parachute system deploys from the tail. It gradually noses over and comes down on a shock absorber nose first.
How fast will it impact?
About 20 feet a second. It has a 48-foot parachute attached to it.
12 or 14 miles an hour.
About 12 or 14 miles an hour.
So Evil should be able to take that?
I think so, if the shock absorber works properly and it's not too windy that day and he doesn't hit on too many hard rocks, yes.
What single point about this flight worries you most?
I'd say quality control. In principle, it will do the job. If we've tightened every nut and bolt, and thrown every switch that should be thrown, and fabricated the thing properly, it's the lack of inspection. In this kind of a project, we can't have 2 inspectors for every workman. We do the best we can, and we're hopeful everything will be okay. Another problem, of course, is the lack of testing. We want to test as much as we possibly can, but time and money prevent you doing as thorough a job as you might like. This model is an example. Rather late in the game, we built this model to prove out the calculated values of stability. And it's essentially a wind tunnel model, but we have no wind tunnel. So what we do with it is to put it out in the front fender of a car and run up down the freeway with it.
You kind of got your own freeway wind tunnel.
It was free anyway.
We are now inside Bob Truax's garage, the main assembly point for the X-2 Sky Cycle. Out of this maze of space-age paraphernalia, we get a more complete understanding of Evil's great gamble.
This package here is really the brains of the Sky Cycle, containing a shock absorber, platform, structural platform, and various components. The entire package goes in the nose, right up here. You see these little flippers are the same as these here. So the package extends from here forward. Up here, the gold package is a gyroscope which measures the roll position of the vehicle, and by using the hydraulic powers supplied by this green hydraulic cylinder down here, and working through an amplifier, it operates these flippers, which maintains the vehicle in an upright attitude.
Bob, how much force, what kind of shock loading will Evil take at launch and during the flight?
Well, it's going to be a pretty rugged flight, I can tell you that. When the engine kicks off, it will have well over 5,000 pounds of thrust. That means with the vehicle weighing just a little over 1,000 pounds, he'll get 5 Gs positive. And then normal trajectory, when we initiate the recovery system, he'll take 3 Gs eyeballs out. Now, in case the system should actuate at the maximum speed, it'll go up to 10 Gs. And that again is eyeballs out.
You mean that as the force pushes my body back into the seat, the tendency is for my eyes to be pushed out this way? Well,
we figure his eyeballs will stay in, but it'll be an exciting flight.
And over here, you really have a miniature launch control center.
That's right. Since this is a pretty complex vehicle, we want to be sure that before he leaves that ramp, we know that everything inside of it is in proper working order. So we have provided the ability to power the vehicle up. We can measure on these instruments here many of the readings. We can test many of the circuits, including the parachute and the gyroscopes and so forth.
So while it can't control the vehicle in flight, pre-flight on the ground, it tells you everything you need to know before a launch.
That's right. As soon as the umbilical cord breaks, this is of no further value.
And the final step before launch is to reach down and what? Where's your launch control button?
This is the fire button right there.
So as you reach down and press that, lights up and the vehicle's underway. All you can add is happy landings, Evil. What kind of a power system do you have for the X2?
Well, the X2 is powered by a steam rocket, sometimes called a hot water rocket.
Steam?
It's the essence of simplicity. In this tank, we hold some 500 pounds of superheated water. And when we open a valve inside, this water blows out and converts into steam on the way out. And essentially, that's all there is to it.
And that gives you enough thrust to get the X2 and Evil off the ground?
It gives 5,000 pounds of thrust, and that will get Evil up to 350 miles an hour in just a little over 4 seconds.
This has got to be one of history's few steam-powered rockets.
That's right, although I believe the first one was invented by Sir Isaac Newton way back in the 1800s.
Let's hope that Sir Isaac and Bob Truax were right in their calculations.
Well, Sir Isaac's turned out to be pretty accurate. I'm not so sure about Bob Truax.
So this is it, Bob. This is the X2 Sky Cycle.
This is the X2. It's 15 feet long, 25 inches in diameter, empty, but with all the equipment installed, weighs about 500 pounds, has 500 pounds of water in this propellant and 200 pounds or so of Evel Knievel, and all up, that'll come to about 1,300 pounds at takeoff.
Not very big.
No, it's just barely big enough to do the job.
We've seen all the pieces now. The engine, the guidance system, stabilization system. This is the X2 itself. Will it work?
That, of course, is the $64 question. Or maybe one might say the 60-40 question.
60-40. Those are pretty low odds. What are Evil's chances of coming out of this without being injured?
Well, the terrain's pretty rough up there, and the landing alone is likely to be a bit rough because there are lots of rocks and sagebrush and wind and so on, so they certainly got to be a little bit higher than that, that he's had some injury.
Why did you, Bob Truax, after a long and distinguished career in rocketry and astronautics, get involved with something like this?
Well, I guess from my preliminary association with him, I was convinced that he's a pretty gutsy guy, and by golly, he was going to go through with it. And some of the initial approaches were pure suicide. So I thought perhaps if I got myself injected into it, I could at least make his chances as good as they can be made with the limits of time and money that he could put up.
And you think you may have reduced suicide to a tolerable or acceptable risk?
Well, acceptable to him, apparently.
I get by with a little help from my friends. Yeah, I get high with a little help from my friends. I gotta try with a little help from my friends. Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends. Ooh, I get high with a little help from my friends. I gotta try with a little help from my friends.
Once you're inside the X2, you know exactly what it must be like being inside a guided missile, because that's what the X2 comes closest to being. Getting into it is tough. Getting out of it, if Evil has to in an emergency, will be even tougher, especially wearing a chest parachute, which you'll have to use in the event the main parachute fails to open. What does it all mean? No one could begin to predict, so we're not even going to try. Like we said, getting into the X2 is tough. Getting out of it, especially if you have to in an emergency,
5, 4,
is even tougher.
2,
One, you just crashed.
That's right.
You didn't make it.
Nope. Okay. I'd say that was 14, 15 seconds, Bob. Now, if I didn't care about the pants, I could have broken off the windscreen, which I assume he'll do.
No, he better not.
Why?
Because that's the only thing that shields him from this 350-mile-an-hour blast. That'll.
But if that, presumably he's slowed down a little from that speed, isn't he?
You know,
All right. I'm the same height. I'm the same height as Evil, plus or minus a half an inch, right? Okay. My knees may not be. No, my knees are just about as bad as his. All right.
There are some who say Evel Knievel is not a professional daredevil, but just the latest version in a long line of flight pioneers. Men who departed from conventional design because they had an original idea, plus a certain desire to place their names indelibly in history. Man's efforts to go faster, further, and higher do not always succeed. As we can see, feathers alone do not an airplane make. This pioneer was obviously banking on something for a rainy day. It's especially useful if you took medicine and forgot to shake it well. Perhaps a pedaling pilot prevents petroleum pollution, but a pinch more glue might also have helped in this case. Yes, there is an Evel Knievel in every age, each generation, and all nationalities. Those indomitable souls who reach out attempting the impossible dream. To them, we can only say, bon voyage, Godspeed, and back to the old drawing board, fellas.
I think Evel Knievel is going to jump the Snake River Canyon because he seems like a really brave soul.
He's apparently got a good engineering background. I've got no doubt he'll make it.
How can any man get in a small contraption like that and go that far and expect to make it? It's impossible.
He's jumped all the trucks and cars and all that, and I think he can jump this. He's gonna wipe out in midair and fall down the river.
I think Evel Knievel's gonna jump the Snake River because he always jumps. He jumps things and he hardly ever makes mistakes. That's all I'm gonna say. Oh my God.
I hope and pray that he makes his jump successfully over the, what river is it?
The Snake River, and here it is, running more than 1,000 miles from the state of Washington to Wyoming. The canyon itself leaping out of the stark mountainous rocks of Idaho, an awesome geological reminder of man's frailty against nature.
This, then, is the site of Evel's great gamble, and what a ride he's going to get. Based on Bob Truax's calculations and verified by our own computer readouts, it should work, and here's what should happen.
Evel's projected flight begins with the X-2 poised on the launching platform on the south rim of the 1,600-foot wide canyon. As the count reaches 0, the X-2 is launched at a 56-degree angle and reaches its maximum speed of 394 miles an hour 5 seconds after liftoff. The engine has burned out, but the X-2 coasts upward until it reaches its peak altitude 15 seconds after launch. The X-2 slows to 227 miles an hour. As it levels off, a preset gyroscope triggers the parachute recovery system at 3,000 feet altitude, nearly a mile down range. Then a drogue chute deploys, and it in turn pulls out the main parachute. The entire sequence takes 8 seconds, giving Evil a series of 3G jolts at each separate stage of the recovery sequence. 23 seconds after liftoff, the X-2 has descended to 2,200 feet and begins floating to Earth at approximately 15 miles an hour, landing 2 minutes and 3 seconds after launch if all goes well. Evil is not wearing any special kind of protective gear other than a fighter pilot's helmet and is not undergoing any specialized training or physical conditioning for the flight.
It looks simple, but while the chances of total success of the flight are impossible to predict, we can show you what might happen if any of the critical systems or instruments fail to perform properly.
The first danger Evil faces is short engine thrust. If the steam engine doesn't burn long enough, here's what would happen. After 2 seconds, the engine cuts out and stops dead. The speed has reached only 177 miles an hour, which means the X-2 curves over 6 seconds later at 102 miles an hour. Remember, the parachute system needs 1,000 feet of altitude to fully open. Depending on the wind, the sky cycle either crashes on the north rim of the canyon, just as the main parachute deploys enough to slow the X-2 for a chance of survival. Or, with a headwind, the X-2 might just barely clear the canyon and float down into the river. The parachute system has enough altitude to operate with a 200-foot safety margin. But Evil will now have to escape from a submerged vehicle. Still another possible engine failure is low thrust. The engine fires up but never reaches full power. With this 20% power situation, the X-2 would reach only 70 miles an hour after 3 seconds, just barely enough to get off the pad and clear the canyon wall. Again, the recovery system activates horizontally, but with only 850 feet of altitude, Evil crashes into the Snake River 7 seconds later. The main chute has deployed just barely enough for survival. A little less or a little more thrust would make it a life or death proposition against the canyon wall. Another big trouble possibility, failure of the stabilization system. If the gyroscope controlling the X-2's roll rate fails, it'll corkscrew at 5 revolutions per second like a bullet. The recovery parachute system could easily become tangled, with the sky cycle going down in a crash landing. The third danger, emergency escape. The X-2 isn't big enough for an ejection seat, so Evil has only a personal chest parachute. In an emergency, he has to bail out immediately at the top of the jump. Every foot counts. He has to unbuckle his harness, force himself out into a 200-mile-an-hour wind blast, pull the ripcord, and open his chute. And he has only 14 seconds before the X-2 crashes at 321 miles an hour, nearly 2 miles downrange. The last danger is a fully successful flight and landing itself. Even if it all works, Evil must now survive a nose-down impact which could fracture the X-2 at the cockpit, structurally its weakest point. Evil's head could be crushed should the X-2 fall over on the open cockpit. There is no protection roll bar, since it would hinder an emergency escape. Scary, eh? But wait a minute. Have all these potential risks persuaded Evil to abandon his great gamble? Not so it can be noticed. Several weeks ago, a strange caravan of vehicles appeared at a deserted testing field behind Mather Air Force Base in Sacramento, California. Guess who? It's our old friend, Bob Truax, and the X-2 Sky Cycle, now painted a patriotic red, white, and blue, and sporting a tail assembly, a startling transformation from its humble beginnings as a surplus Navy wingtip fuel tank. The static, or tie-down test of the steam engine was now at hand, with the X-2 strapped down tightly on the elevated firing bench. Our ABC cameraman sent back this report. Holy cow, gee willikers, the darn thing works, I think. Or words to that effect. And needless to say, Bob Truax was very happy. What kind of an environment changes a Robert Craig Knievel into a man who calls himself Evil? It is here, in the rugged cowboy country of the great Northwest, around Butte, Montana, that Evil Knievel grew up and has spent most of his life, and it is still rugged territory. Butte is a tough town, a mining town trying to find itself. The future we all live in is shaped in our past, and it is not so difficult to understand evil once you understand Butte. As a youngster, Evil, by his own admission, broke the law many times, mostly minor thefts, and even kidnapped his bride-to-be from her own family when she was 18. They now live in this $200,000 custom-built home under armed guard protection. His grandmother, who raised him, remembers what he was like as a boy.
He was a good skier, he was a good skater, he was good in every kind of athletics, and I went with him everywhere. Only one time I saw him get knocked over the fence and lit on his head on the cement from the hockey playing, and I wouldn't go for a long time. And he says, "Mother, please come and watch." And so finally I went, and I got used to it, and I got used to seeing him knocked around, but he started the fights.
Evel Knievel has always fought life in the classic style of a gambler gunslinger from the Old West, now standing poised, facing a showdown with his destiny. As old-time marshals used to say, it's a short life and a chancy one.
I might have been able to do this in a safer manner and maybe spend more money on testing, but I haven't, so I got to do it this way.
After covering 30 U.S. manned space flights and looking at it now, I can't believe it.
Well, it's all going to happen on September the 8th, so I only hope when I look into that blue sky that that big parachute opens up and I come down on that other side and I'm safe. That's
and you'll be looking almost straight up.
All the way straight up until I get out way over the other side of the canyon, and then when that's over and my chute system opens like it's supposed to open, if it does open, well then I'm going to be looking at the ground. She's going to be all over.
Here we are, 700 feet over the Snake River. And there's where you're going to go.
I hope a mile on the other side.
It's about a third of a mile across the canyon, but the total flight path, as I figured out, is more than a mile.
Well, should be over there by those power lines someplace, or maybe over on some private property that belongs to one of these Idaho farmers that it's been turned over to me so that I can make a landing on it.
What do you think your chances really are?
Well, I'd like to think 100%, but when you listen to Bob Truax and he's the man that knows, I'd say 50-50. I don't know. Who the hell cares? I'm going to do it anyway.
All right. You've taken a lot of risks, probably more than any man of 35 in our society outside of possibly one or two of the astronauts. You've made a lot of money. Why are you doing this?
Well, first of all, I'm doing it because I had a harebrained idea that I could. And then when I found out that it may be impossible, I went ahead and spent all the money to do it to keep my word.
Hey, Evel, you brought your wife up here, and your children. What was their reaction? What do they think of this flight?
Well, when I brought my wife to the top of this ramp, needless to say, it was one of the few times in her life that I found her to be emotional. My little sons and my little daughter have always been very apprehensive about this jump, but I think we all have a lot of faith in all of the men that are working on this project, everybody, from the men that are putting up this ramp to the man who built the sky cycle to the men who are going to fire it, and also a lot of faith in the guy that's going to build the parachute.
When you get in the X-2 cockpit on the day of launch and you're strapped in and Truax is counting down, what will you be thinking?
I'll be doing the same thing that you do. I'll be praying.
Evel, millions of kids in this country look up to you as kind of the pinnacle of daredevil skill for what you've done on bikes. What do you feel about those kids?
Well, I don't really like the idea that because of me they might go out and hurt themselves. Ride a bicycle or a motorcycle without a helmet, or drive a race car or any kind of a car without a safety belt. But I feel this way. You know, when I was a little boy, I was excited and enthralled by auto daredevils. That's what got me into this business. And I remember the feeling I had when I wanted to go out and jump my little bicycle. It made life really worthwhile for me. So I say that it's better to take a chance in life, to win a victory, or suffer a defeat, even though you're scarred by failure like I have been, than it is to live like some people do in a world that is so gray that you and I wouldn't want to live in it, because those people don't know a victory or a defeat, because they have never had the guts to try either, and I wouldn't want my little boy to be like that.
You really think you've got a shooting chance here?
If I didn't, I wouldn't be doing it. You know what?
the knot in my stomach and the lump in my throat gets bigger. But if I land on the other side of this canyon and I'm alive, it's going to make life maybe a lot more worthwhile for me, and I'm going to enjoy it a lot more than a lot of people do. But I've got left to live of it.
Let's say you land on the other side of the canyon, and you're alive, and all right. Are you going to go on jumping bikes? What will you do then?
I will not jump so far, and I won't jump so high. Let's go.
All we can say is good luck.
None of this fully explains Evel Knievel and why he does it, or why we as a people are fascinated by him. He doesn't fit any standard definition of a hero, clean-living Boy Scout type of thing. Perhaps we seek relief from the critical turmoil surrounding our lives. The psychiatrists call it transfer. In watching someone else face terrible risks and peril, we forget our own problems and what we face. Vicarious thrill? Yes. Taking risks none of us in our right minds would? Yes. But it's more than that. Up to now, Evel has always come through, battered and with broken bones, but he made it. In his survival, doing utterly insane things, perhaps there is some inner message telling us that the human race itself can face anything and survive. We'll be back for a final update on Evel's Snake River Canyon attempt in a moment. Less than 70 hours from now, for better or worse, Evel Knievel will have blasted off the ramp at Twin Falls. His journey over the Snake River Canyon will be witnessed by a live audience of at least 50,000 spectators, plus an estimated audience of 1 million or more viewers on closed-circuit pay TV around the country. However, since the filming of tonight's report, a new wrinkle has developed. 12 days ago, Bob Truax fired the X-2 in a secret test over the canyon. No cameras were permitted to record the result. But the recovery parachute system went haywire, deploying prematurely, and the Sky Cycle crashed into the Snake River. The chances of Evel's survival, had he been aboard, would have been doubtful. A few hours ago, we talked to Bob Truax by phone in Twin Falls.
Bob, you're going with a backup rocket. What changes have you made?
Knievel will control the vehicle in roll. He will manually operate the lever that begins the parachute recovery sequence.
How can he control the vehicle manually and roll?
Well, he has foot pedals, which are directly attached to the canard flippers.
Bob, you're kidding.
No.
Will he really be able to control it?
I don't know. The parachute release system is spring-loaded to release, and all he has to do is relax. Relax his grip on the parachute release handle, and it will snap forward and the parachute sequence will start.
Bob, what you really done here is to put a dead man switch on the parachute release.
Essentially, yes.
Are your odds for Evel to survive still 60-40? If you had to put a number on it, could you, and what would you say?
If I had to, I'd say 80-20.
That high?
That's not high.
Would you get in that cockpit yourself? You've had big doubts in the past.
Negative. Of course not.
As for Evel himself, the world's leading daredevil is reportedly very nervous. Who wouldn't be? Perhaps he's having second thoughts on the subject of life and death. By Sunday evening, we'll have the answer. Strange as it all seems, you just have to wish him good luck. In New York, this is Jules Bergman.
What are you doing the rest of your life? North and south and east and west of your life. I have only one request of your life, that you spend it all with me.
This coming Saturday, ABC's Wide World of Sports will originate a live report from the Snake River Canyon during its regularly scheduled coverage of the U.S.-Russian basketball game live from Expo 74. That's this Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, 4:30 Pacific Time on ABC's Wide World of Sports.
It's a long way across and a long way down. But for Robert Evel Knievel, married and the father of 3 children, waiting at the other side of the Snake River Canyon is a big pot of gold, at least $6 million big. The super stunt, billed as the death-defying event of the century, will be viewed by almost 2 million people, most of them watching on closed-circuit movie screens. At $10 a head, plus the money at the gate, the total size of the take is expected to top $26 million. The spectacle of Evel's ultimate jump has aroused worldwide attention, and 50,000 people are expected to be there in person. But so far, the people sitting at the edge of the canyon and awaiting the leap don't seem overly excited by it. But if the crowd at the site has yet to catch jump fever, the tension has begun to show on Evel. Or has it? Some people think Evel's outburst yesterday against NBC cameraman Jim Watt was a little too much like good press agentry.
I said have a smile on your face.
I don't smile at anybody.
All right, get him out. Get him out. Out. Go on, get out of here. I do not ask for your respect. I demand it, and that's the way it's going to be. Until I come back alive, and you can say whatever you want to. I want to tell you something. I think that all of you that are here right now know, regardless of what 2 or 3 jackasses might say or have said, out of the millions of legitimate press people in this world, what this thing is. It's a monster. And I think you all know now by looking at me, I wish that I didn't have to do this and I wasn't here.
2 test vehicles built by former NASA engineer Robert Truax have already ended up at the bottom of the canyon. But Evel says he's confident he'll make it. And after all the nitpicking and press agentry, he is the one who will climb into the 13-foot steam engine and try to ride SkyCycle X2 at 350 miles an hour across 1,600 feet of canyon. Assuming he makes it, Evel will land on a very large, soft, money-stuffed cushion.
It's all set to go. All you have to do is now press the trigger on the right-hand control handle.
There is now just 1 minute to go.
1 minute and counting.
1 minute.
Stopwatch will go on at 10 seconds. Camera's on at 5.
I think Evel asked us all to be silent and wish him well in the last 30 seconds. And so we will all stop talking now for this last 30 seconds to count down. Happy landing, Evel.
Start your camera. And we're minus 5. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1.
Come on!
Okay, Evel, stay with the bird. Stay with the bird. It looks like you're going to go into the canyon. You had a premature shoot. You have a good shoot on you.
Come on.
Stay with the vehicle. Stay with the vehicle. Put your visor up as you can.
You cannot see it now. There she goes, beneath the rim of the canyon. It's going to crash, obviously, into the river. It is okay, though. She's coming down about 17 feet per second. Slowly going down.
It just cleared the rocks, thank God. It looks like he is in the water. Robert Craig Knievel appears to have landed in the Snake River.
What does it look like, Bob?
It looks like he didn't hold on to the handle.
Like we feared?
Yeah.
Where does it look like he's down in the water?
No, I'm afraid he's down in the rocks on this side, but I can't see.
In the water. In the water. In the water.
Okay.
Sorry, just up to the frogman now.
Watch out.
Yes!
Robert Craig Knievel did not clear the 1,600-foot
Snake River Canyon. He has landed in the Snake River. However, we believe it is in the river and not on the rocks.
Then as you saw the takeoff, after she cleared the launch area, there was a definite roll to the right.
She rolled to the right. And the chute opened prematurely, too, did it not?
That's right. The drogue chute came out, and then the main chute came out. And he came down prematurely.
Jim, it appeared to me as if he made no attempt to try to get out of the vehicle, wasn't it? Because he was not up high enough?
Well, there'd be no attempt to try to get out of the vehicle that time, Len. It's best to stay in it and let the main chute recover you, which he did do.
The family, and we're racing around to them now, is hysterical and in shock, crying. They think Evil may be dead or maybe drowning in the river.
Let's go over to Bud Perillo, who's got a view of what's happening.
Yes, what happened was this. Evil definitely tried to get out, but he couldn't. And it appeared that he hit the side of the canyon. He did not go into the river. It looked like the nose did hit on the side. I can't see the craft or Evil at all from where I am. But he did try to get out. He was trying desperately to get out of the sky cycle.
Of course, the speculation at this point to try to imagine what possibly went wrong.
Well, it appeared that the chute opened too fast.
Is there anyone getting close, Bud, to bring us more news of how...
David, I can't see anything. The helix, nobody has gone into the water. As I say, there are two men rowing up to the site.
Well, that river, again, we'll repeat, is about 15 to 18 feet deep.
David, I am very scared. The nose of the craft appeared to hit on the side of the canyon.
Let's quickly see again what happened. Here it is, the rocket ready to go off the pad in a burst of white-hot steam. And there's the chute much too soon. What went wrong? No one is sure.
Evil Knievel is standing in the boat and waving. He is alive and well.
In good shape.
I think at this point we can all say thank God.
Looks okay, Mr. Knievel. Yeah. I just said I can't tell, but it looks okay.
We'll show you on the monitor.
We're driving now.
Come on, get the kids. We'll go in the ABC truck.
Come on.
Where's Kelly? Jack. Hey, good, he's okay. Come on.
Follow that, Linda.
Where was it?
Well, maybe he didn't clear the canyon, and maybe his dream did not come true. But at least he's alive and well, and he tried. I would imagine right now Mrs. Knievel is as limp as a rag. We understand she is in the mobile unit beneath our announce stand here on the tower, and she is very, very happy. A very happy woman.
That wasn't the way the coverage had been planned. As a matter of fact, there were 3 helicopters in the air, each with a camera to try to see things unforeseen like that might occur. However, at the instant that he started heading down the canyon, the Federal Aviation Administration, and we certainly think properly, ordered all aircraft to land immediately. And so there was no camera that could see that spot. But he wasn't in the river. He was on this ledge. Now let's resume the coverage as it happened last night.
Less than 20 minutes after blasting off, Evil Knievel is back at his launch pad now in a cloud of dust. Premature parachute deployment. He couldn't hold the chute, but he landed safely in the water. He's walking on his own. Looks like he has a bloody nose, and he's bleeding from the eyes a little bit. How do you feel, Tiger?
I love Evil. Oh, I don't know, Julie.
How rough was the landing?
2 or 3 shells and bounced down, but I was strapped in so tight that came through it all right. I don't know what happened.
You lost the spring? You couldn't hold the spring?
It went sideways. It turned. Now, I don't know what happened down here, but Ron and Bob both told me if I saw the canyon wall and not the sky, for Christ's sake, to let it go. And when it turned, I let her fly. I didn't know what had happened. It just about knocks you out, Jules, when it takes...
How were you rescued, though? How were you rescued, Evil? Thank God you were.
They came and got me out down there in the trees and put me in the boat. I couldn't get my safety belt.
Unharnessed?
Unharnessed. If I'd have gone in the river, I'd have never got out of it, ever.
Where did you land? Right on the shore?
Well, I landed into the wall on this side and then bounced down. But I don't know what happened. It's just that I think people. I don't know. I just can't say. I'll have to let Bob and the fellas examine it.
Are you going to try it again?
Well, I don't know what I'm going to do. I sat in it and gave it my best, and I don't know what to tell you. Believe me. I just like to see Bob and Ron.
Mr. Knievel, everybody off, please. Everybody off right now. Okay, everybody off.
No, you're here. You're here, big boy. You held on perfect. You up on the ramp. You did it.
You told me if it got upside down and I saw the canyon wall below the chute, and I did it. I don't know why.
No, it blew on the ramp. Just like last time. Take it easy with him.
What happened? It blew on the ramp?
It blew on the... Stop it. Yeah, hurt his lip.
What happened to it?
It let go just like the other one, but apparently there was a completely different cause.
I had my leg on top of it, my hand back.
You didn't let go of it right here
until I saw the thing.
And then you let go of it. Then you let go.
And I pushed it. I can't understand what made it turn upside down.
Oh, well, it was kind of a slow roll. But you didn't do a damn thing wrong. The can is still on the thing.
It blew off right there on the lawn. Blew off by accident?
Yeah, it was our fault. Yeah. That's what it is.
It's not your fault.
Yes, it is. We should have run one more test. All right. Let's try to get... Is the helmet uncomfortable? Let's get it off.
All right.
Mr. Frost.
And there, you heard it from Bob Truax. Evil did not deploy the parachute himself. It came off on the pad, a mechanical failure.
Didn't you know it, though?
David, yes. Easy, fellow. You got this.
There's Evil, about to be embraced by his father, Robert Knievel Sr. We'll try to talk to Bob Truax himself in a minute.
Not necessarily the last look at Evel Knievel. As we all know, he tried to rocket himself across the Snake River Canyon in Idaho yesterday, and as we all know as well, he didn't make it, but he did get out alive and several $1 million richer. As my colleague Douglas Kiker was saying yesterday, it was Evel Knievel against the Snake River Canyon, and the canyon was the sentimental favorite. Here's Jack Perkins.
Not nearly as many people came as Evel Knievel had boasted would come to see him, but those who did, why?
They want to see a person make $13 million in 10 seconds. Yeah. They have a good time. Everyone gets loose around here. He's going to be hemorrhaging from the nose and the mouth. He's supposed to be unconscious, and nobody knows if he's going to pull out of it or what.
Is that retraction? I mean, does that affect you?
It sort of does. You're fine, man.
As Knievel made his preparations, one of his promoters, proud of the multi-million-dollar promotion, said, "It's probably the greatest con job of the century." Well, here's how it went. This was the blast-off. Still pictures, which is all the promoters would let one take. But as the rocket left the ramp, you could see the parachute was already out. Knievel was not supposed to release the parachute until later, but there it was. Either mechanical malfunction or Knievel blew it. And the rocket went not across the canyon, but straight down into it. Knievel was not hurt much. He had failed, but he had made several $1 million failing. And people who had come to watch said they still thought he was a great man. That's what the people there said. But let it be noted that most people were not there watching Knievel. At the same time all of Knievel's hoopla was going on this past week, Twin Falls, Idaho was holding its county fair. The local paper urged people to support their fair instead of what it called the exploitation out at the other end of town. And people did. People got their excitement on the merry-go-round. They listened to the Salmon River Junior Fiddlers. And they walked down to the Campfire Girls' booth for a slab of cherry pie and ice cream. The people of Twin Falls have their priorities straight. Their county fair here attracted 60,000 people through its gates, and that's more than Evel Knievel got. Jack Perkins, NBC News, Twin Twin Falls, Idaho.
And good night for NBC News.